Yay, hello, and welcome to this week Magnet Marketers Training Tuesday Live. And today we got a special show for you with a special guest. Today we're talking about lessons in leadership during a crisis, what some are calling a crisis, but we want to help you stay positive, uplifted, and flex those leadership muscles. And we have a special guest to tell you just how to do that. Before we dive into him and his bio, if you've not met him before, just a quick hello from myself and my awesome co-host. My name is Jessika Phillips. I'm with Now Marketing Group in the Relationship Marketing System, and my awesome co-host, he's Mike Gingerich. He's president of Digital Hill, the co-founder of the popular apps Waftio, a tab site, and a published author extraordinaire. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, doing well in these COVID-19 days, and excited to have Angus here and to kind of dive into the topics today.
Me too.
So with that, let me say a little bit more about our guest. This is Angus Nelson. Angus is an executive life strategy coach for men, helping high-performing leaders take their next big step in just 90 days, 90. In addition, Angus serves as the Director of Development for Golden Spiral, a B2B technology marketing agency focused on SaaS companies in fintech, health tech, and cybersecurity. He hosts a podcast called Studio CMO and Up in Your Business. And he's a speaker for brands like Walmart, Whole Foods, BMW, Coke, Adobe, and Magnet Marketers. He's an avid coffee drinker and aficionado of all things human behavior, identical twins, and nachos. All right, welcome, Angus.
Hey, thanks. Great to be here. You know, when you opened up, you guys all did some of your hands, and I was like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
I just talk with my hands. That's like my thing. That's why anytime there's not like a lapel mic and they ask me to speak somewhere and they give me the microphone, I'm like, oh God, like this is the time where we need to make sure everybody signed waivers because I don't know where this thing's going to go, but it's definitely going somewhere.
I'm geared into it just because, you know, when you see a video, it's like on Facebook, you know, and if you see heads there, but if you see something, then people are like, oh, you know, so just, I'm wired.
It's funny.
Yeah, I will do my best to contain my hands into a frame.
I didn't even realize how much I did it until a couple people started pointing it out. They're like, I can always tell it's you that's starting the show because it's always like, you know, I'm like, I just talk with my hands, can't help it. But I'll have those kind of little habits, things that make us who we are, you know, right? And that's
Absolutely.
I think we're learning to even embrace some of the differences and all the things that we have with us, especially as we're moving into our homes to do live shows, right? And when we're talking about, I was like, oh, I need to let my kids know that I'm going live. And I guess you were like, well, I think kind of it's normal now. People are just expecting kids to go in the background and just be part of it, which is all great things. I think that are part of what's happening now. We're kind of on this level playing field of what we're accepting and just bringing us closer as humanity, you know, humans together and what we're all going through. But also, I love this quote that I took from one of the things that I've pulled up online about you. And you said, we are all looking at the same mountain, at the same mountain, but at a different perspective. Give yourself permission to take a step to the left and a step to the right to gain a different viewpoint. So it's really like all of us going through the same things, but really about how we're viewing it because perception is everything. I love that.
Yeah, thanks. And I, you know, to unpack that specifically for what's going on is like, you know, when you're seeing people react even online, they're coming from a perspective that you may completely be unaware of. You know, one might be a parent who has children who's trying to, you know, navigate this workspace, and they're totally, you know, at their peak of stress and trying to navigate areas that they've not been a part of before. They haven't spent this many hours with their children and their spouse and in their home trying to navigate a workplace environment. So they have a different perspective. Then you've got someone else who maybe they come from an event space and they just got told that your next $50,000 worth of revenue just got slashed. And now all of a sudden, what the level of anxiety and stress that they're coming from is being projected into conversations without them even knowing it on a subconscious level. And they may be a little quicker to get angry or a little more angry to get upset. And in fact, I'm like Mr. Positive. I'm always trying to, you know, be, you know, lighthearted and trying to bring optimism. And I had people getting mad at me. They're saying, this is a serious issue and people need to be afraid. They need to operate in fear. And I'm like, who said that? you bought into a lie. Like, there can be fearful things that don't require your fear. There can be things that cause you to question what is uncertainty, but that doesn't mean that I have to go to this place of panic. Because in a place of panic, I can't operate, see objectively, and be powerful in that moment. Now I'm coming from a place of lack. Then I'm coming from a place of inadequacy, and I'm making choices out of desperation and need. And as we all know, like, whenever you start making choices out of that, you're going to make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
So it's incumbent on us to, like, keep our wits about us, to try and, like, stand away from it for just a moment, not to ignore it, not to say that it doesn't matter, but to breathe and take a moment to say, what is the next best step for me right now? What is something that I have power over, that I can do something that's going to move me forward for me or my family or for my teams? Like, to me, that's taking that step from the left to the right, looking at this mountain. We're all looking at some scary hill, and some people are going to see it from one direction. But if you have the humility to just take a step and see it from a different perspective, you can have grace, you can have empathy, and you can have compassion. Or on the other hand, you can step and you can see clarity. You can see a plan. You can see a path.
I love that. That is so aligned with what I was just listening to. Because, like, mindset is everything, right? So, like, every morning, because I've consumed more news, I feel like I need more uplifting, So I'm like, I was listening to some of the favorite thought leaders that I follow on YouTube, and one of them was talking about, like, emotion is energy in motion. Like, it has to get released somehow. So the more that you're putting in of fear and anxiety or whatever, it doesn't necessarily need to leave that away, right? Like, it just needs to be released somehow. So what we're taking in, if yes, it may be a serious issue or it is a serious issue of us staying home and all that we're dealing with and all of this that's going on in our world. However, it's like how we're responding, like you're saying. And if not, it's going to consume us in another way. And that's when you start feeling sick, or you stop reacting, or you kind of shut down mode. And that's what we want to avoid, because we as leaders, and all of us are leaders, need to kind of show up in a way that can really help shift the collective mindset in another direction, which is powerful, because I do believe, like, energy is contagious, and we need to kind of start the good kind of contagious around here of good energy.
And there's a statement somebody told me a long time ago. They said, what you hear about, you think about; what you talk, or what you think about, you talk about; what you talk about, you bring about. And so our brain is like a computer. So you're constantly putting in, information. You're constantly being in a place where whatever has been put into that operating system is now the thing that's going to come out. So the more you're putting stuff in, positive or negative, is the kind of response that you're going to have. And what that means is the information you're taking is creating a belief system. And your behavior is going to follow the belief, good or bad. And so if you're coming from a place, like we were saying before, of lack or of fear, then that behavior is going to operate from that negative energy. And then everyone around you is going to feel it. And, let's be clear, like, if you have to grieve, if you were just making plans for Q2, Q3, and you were all fired up, and all of a sudden the rug just got pulled out from under you, like, there is a moment there for you to grieve. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's, don't stay there. Don't stay camped out there. Now balance it with taking in something, like you said, listening to your gurus, listening to the stuff that's affirmation. Or for me, I'm super proactive. Like with my clients, I have a piece of paper we call the morning manifest, where I take them through daily exercises for them to read about this projected identity that they're taking on to operate at a higher level. And I saw somebody comment in there earlier. It's like, if nothing's changed for you and everything's honky dory, some of those people are feeling guilty right now. And they're counterproductive, because now there's this element of shame. Everyone else is freaking out. Everyone else's world's just crumbled, but mine's doing awesome. If I'm working in telecommunications, if I own stock in Zoom, if I am a grocery store owner, like, I'm thinking this is awesome. But I could also go to a place of, like, feeling like, everyone else is suffering, and you create this opposite negative reaction, which will self-sabotage you in other means. And so this is a time where you really have to become self-aware and emotionally intelligent to know where you're coming from and what your motivation is anchored on, so that you can see, like we were talking about before, a level of objectivity, so that you can make those decisions for a next step that's going to be beneficial.
Yeah. Like what you said, also, you mentioned something about a kind of like a daily thing that you are doing. Okay, because I think that's probably one of the biggest things right now, is that people need to hear you and these words and understand it's not, well, okay, once and done, I did that. I mean, that could shift a few hours from now and you need to come back to that. It could shift tomorrow morning and you need to come back to that, right? I mean, it's going to be a choice that's probably gonna have to be made. It could have to be made multiple times.
Yeah. So if I've already established what my identity is, then the conditions around me will not dictate my behavior. Right? So I'm either in, some people use this phrase, it's kind of cliche, you're either the thermometer or you're the thermostat, right? I walk into a room, I either set the temperature or I become the temperature.
I love that.
Ooh,
And everyone right now, I'm not everyone, that's such a crap phrase. A lot of people right now are losing their minds because they are conditioned to emotional response.
Yeah.
In addition, like, let me give you some quick facts here real quick. Like, we are in a place where the super scary feels super scary, but for most people, it's only because they've never experienced super scary before. And yes, this is unprecedented, but if you've ever dealt with issues in your life, you know what it's like to feel uncertain. If you've gone through divorce, if you've gone through family sickness, if you've gone through job loss, if you've gone through bankruptcy, like, you know, personal pain. And when you look at this, you can kind of see it through a different lens because you're already conditioned for the muscles to be able to tackle something that's challenging. But if everything's been awesome in your world, like, this is a completely different environment and you are like unconditioned, is that the right? You're not conditioned to be able to deal with it, right? You don't have the tools, you don't have those muscles. So, like, the world is a scary place, and this is what we've forgotten in the last 10 years of this awesome boom of an economy. We've forgotten that the world works on these different pulses and different rhythms. And in the history of our world, like, there's been 5 different recessions, or 4 global recessions since World War II. 1975, 1982, 1991, and 2009. Those were global, right? So that part we've seen before. So we're at the brink of that right now. But for just our country, we've had 47 different recessions through the history of our world. And so when we think, oh, if I have a job, if I have a different investment, like, that's safe, you've been bought, you bought into a lie. There is no promise for anything.
Yeah.
And so we're in
like
this
recession time. Oops, sorry.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
Even like recession time is even a bad time. Like you mentioned, for some people it's good. Like, I started my business in a recession, right? So, like, that's part of it too.
So if you take that perspective, and I love that you add that, Jessika, is like, when you can see opportunity in the midst of crisis, that's when the magic happens. Because while everyone else is flailing, you're figuring out. Right? Some of the greatest companies we have right now, which can be arguable because some of them are kind of in shaky, business right now. But if you look at WeWork, if you look at Airbnb, if you look at Uber, if you look at Lyft, like, those major companies, and we won't go into all the financial structure and business, but just in the context of what people know, those all came out of the last recession. Like, there's multiple people that you can look at that they gained their ground in the midst of these kinds of crisis. They leveraged it into a way that became opportunity. So if you look around you right now, like, what are the opportunities where your business can pivot? Suddenly people are like, ooh, let's do virtual stuff. Let's do virtual conferences. Let's do, like, opportunity. Hello. People are saying, well, what's going to happen in the future? Like, I was talking with a friend of mine. I said, could it be possible if we take the flu as serious as we do COVID right now, and every season things just shift? And that's when we consider summer break is now actually going to be flu season break, where the schools are no longer and business changes and conference season shifts to a different time of year. Like that's the kind of shift that could happen in our world. And if so, could you be a part of that? Could you do something to disrupt that? Like we have to like think again, standing back, thinking objectively, what does this make possible? Those words changed my life. I had a coach speak into my world. He said, every time you face a wall, he say, what does this make possible? That's coming from a place of power.
That's powerful, because that I think when you do get pressure, and that's like a sign of a leader too, I think, is like when you feel this pressure and we're talking about reacting, right? And like when you feel that the stress, some people turn into, different things. Maybe it's, numbing out some way, right? Maybe it's anger, maybe it's withdrawing. But for others, if you can channel that powerful energy, that energy in emotion, energy in motion to something positive and pivot and use it to like release your creative juices, like that's what I've really been challenging my clients to do. Okay, maybe you can't do this and this door is closed, but what skill sets, gifts, talents, connections do you have right now that you could still use in another way to sell differently, and lead differently, right? There's so many opportunities for us to just be where we're at, doing what we're doing. That if we could just use that energy for the collective good, I think we could have a huge shift happening right now, and it can really help have this ripple effect to inspire others to do the same thing.
And I work with high performers, and typically high performers are so creative and a high capacity that they can get lots of stuff done. And as a result, they typically build a kingdom around themselves and they become the bottleneck, right? If you're in that state right now, then like wheels are coming off the bus. And I think this is an incredible opportunity for these kinds of leaders to now lean on the people around them. And oftentimes they'll say, oh, well, I've got too many followers, not enough leaders on my team, in which I would argue, no, you actually have a lot of great leaders. You've just never given them the opportunity to lead. In this season, where are the opportunities for you to look at your team and their capacities and give them distributed, responsibility? To where they're not anchoring a big piece, but now you're like testing the water, seeing what they're capable of, seeing what their thresholds are. Like this is your opportunity to develop the leaders around you and to learn how to delegate and unload. Like right now, you've got enough stuff to be worrying about right now outside of what you used to do. Like you're now looking at Q4, you're looking at keeping people on board, you're looking at disruption. Like what better way than to take the things that are, supposed to be required. And some dogs like your dog's like saying, preach it. Hallelujah.
He's going.
That's why I keep muting in between the talking. I'm like, I don't know what's about to come. You just never know, like this is the grace. No, Mike, I wasn't telling you to mute. I'm just saying that's just what we're all dealing with right now.
Right? It was like we were talking about with your kids coming in, like it's kind of normal. Like the new norm looks so different. What if you create a new norm within your company that says, you know what, I'm no longer going to be the bottleneck. I'm no longer going to be the one that has to make all the decisions. I'm going to trust my team and I'm going to raise up people around me that can help us evolve to a new way of leadership. Like that's when real magic happens.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, I think that I like that your phrase. What does this make possible? And I think that it is that's the creative mindset to not see so that door closed, but okay, now where's that window? Where's the next path? How can I pivot? How and kind of giving someone a framework to do that, whether that's delegation, whether that's a new product line. I mean, whatever those changes, pivots have to be. Take a look at that as a catalyst for some really, deeper thinking, potential for deeper change that you wouldn't have got to before, but now may be absolutely beneficial in this next phase.
Mm-hmm. And when you think about it that way, that creativity, obviously going back to, let's just keep building this thing.
Yeah.
So what are you putting in? Building that, hard drive in your
Foundation.
brain, right? So you're operating from a place of power, right? You're establishing what you're listening to so that you can think objectively. In comes a place of generosity, a place of abundance, a place of power. You're not the victim here. Like everyone, has an excuse. Like we could all say right now, we are a victim of what's going on here, like every one of us. So that just levels the playing field. However, I don't have to accept that label. Instead, I'm going to take a label that's the one of my choice. And my choice is I'm an opportunist and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a creative and I'm a world changer and I'm a people developer and I'm a customer centric SOB. Like I just make it happen,
I
right?
think we need to say that one more time about the labels, because I think when we're given it to us, or it's put upon us, especially if you're watching the news a lot and you're accepting these labels, we're in a crisis, pandemic. And then we're thinking, okay, it's businesses are suffering. And this just plays and it becomes this story loop that you continue to tell yourself in this narrative that then makes you operate in that way. And what you were just saying of the, telling yourself a different story, honestly, writing that out and knowing your story, knowing that as your truth, reading that every day.
I think writing is key like that.
Because like you said, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together, but really it is the story that you continue to tell yourself that you are going to continue to play out. So be really cognitive of that story that you are telling yourself as truth right now, because I think that is really powerful.
And you know what? I define me. Nobody else does. And that's what we've forgotten in all this is we are allowing circumstances to define us. Circumstances are what they are, but I get to choose how I react to it. And I don't have to fall into the place where I am operating from this place of fear and intimidation. Now, the circumstances may be bleak, depending on my situation. The circumstances may be dire, but that doesn't have to change who I am. Right. It just means I have to get more creative. It just means it's calling something up out of me to rise to another level, to take on that challenge at a place that calls me to be a better leader. And instead of seeing the challenge as something that's going to squash me, the challenge is to bring me up. It was Joseph Campbell that said, in the fear or in the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure that you seek. So if you're facing something right now that is causing fear, it is an invitation that says, come on up. Come and do something greater. Operate in a place that's not your comfort zone. Rise to a place that's going to prepare you for a greater future. I like to say that life prepares you for what life is preparing for you. And if you've already planted the seed and you are cultivating who you are and how you see the world in this moment, you are performing in amazing ways. And if you haven't and you're freaking out, this is your opportunity to say, you know what? I'm never going to be in this place again. I'm going to start sowing into my life. I'm going to sow into my mind. I'm going to sow into my heart. And I'm going to seek whatever I need to seek to go read the right books, to go listen to the right teachers. I'm going to invest in myself in the ways where I get a mentor or a coach or something that causes me to rise and operate from a place that I know that I can be. You asked me a question before we got on air. You sent me a little thing. It talked about the fear of failure.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we think about. What if I screw this up? You know what? Right now, you can't really screw up anything more than it's already screwed up. Right now, everything's just kind of shifting. But what you can screw up is reacting according to the emotion. That's a worse failure. And that perpetuates, right? It just magnifies it. However, what if your real fear is of success? I don't believe I can become, fill in the blank, the man or the woman I need to be right now in order to do the thing I see in my heart to do. What if I'm intimidated by what this is bringing out of me? What if I'm I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be that person. I don't know if I can lead this team. I don't know if I can lead this company. Then from there, change the script. It's not about you. Nobody's depending on you. Nobody's putting that on your shoulders. Everyone around you is here cheering for your success, including your clients and your customers. So what if you involve them in the process? And you start opening up candor conversations like right now, we've been serving you for the last X amount of months and years, and we don't know what to do right now. And we've made some commitments, you've made some commitments, and right now those commitments are kind of in a quarry. Like we don't know quarry. I made up a word. I don't know what that means. They're kind of in a quandary. That's the word I was looking for.
You used it in
right?
and everything.
Like, how can you and I work together on this to make this successful? What can we delay? What can we push off? What can we do and replace? What are some ways that you can listen to your customer and maybe they will invite you into discovery of new products and services you can create that you never thought of before? What if you can go to your team and say, hey guys, how can we figure this out? And rely on them to help bring this thing up. So in other words, you don't have to lead. What if instead you shepherd? What if instead you facilitate? What if instead you bring collaboration? Like my hope out of all of this is that this whole craziness points us back to humanity.
Yeah, just new ideas. There's been several people I shared last week. We were talking about just like resources for businesses and things like that. And I was talking about a restaurant that they were very hesitant to get on like DoorDash and Uber Eats and that kind of thing. And he was like really like, oh my God, my doors are closed. It's going to have to be closed. I don't know what else to do. And I'm like, well, what if we do curbside pickup? The grocery stores are out of meat. Sell your food, fresh and frozen. Now he's had bigger success in selling those than he was when his restaurant was open. I had another friend, team member actually, that has a kind of patented kind of business, and she was really concerned about being able to kind of still keep that business open. I'm like, well, what if they come up with ideas together on what if you take those kits and make them for sale for people of things to do at home instead, right? And have them sign waivers. And another client that couldn't sell on Amazon now because they're not taking any more fulfillment, in. So it's like, okay, well, now you're a beast at Amazon in your sales. Like, now's your time to make a course that you've always been wanting to do. Like, it really is about the narrative and the story, I think. And then also, like you said, just asking for feedback when we're vulnerable enough to say, hey, here's where I'm at. Like, we're all going through this together. Like, what ideas do you have? I mean, it's just a few minutes of bouncing ideas and talking with one another where we're able to come up with those next level plans, right? So it could be something this was made for this moment like this to happen in order to really get you to that next level of really thinking outside the box to take your business to something maybe that's going to be better than it ever was before, Yeah.
This is that humility to just be open, to take a step to the left or the right. And know this, like, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel like you are trapped. If you are feeling pain right now and you are under the pressure and feel ill prepared, like, mental health is a big issue in all of this. Like, ask for help. And whether that's some of your team member or if that's somebody else that's a professional, like, you've got to be coherent of the fact that if you're feeling stuff that you are not prepared for, then there's resources out there to get you prepared. Let's not, like you and I, Jessica, for sure. And I don't know about you, Mike, but I know that we've done a lot of work personally, on self-work, right? And so for us, we come from a place that's a lot more prepared for this than someone else. And so I have great empathy and compassion, because I'll tell you what, if this had happened to me, 15, 20 years ago, I'd be falling apart like a $2 suitcase,
I was getting ready to say the same thing.
Right?
I get it. I did actually, that's why the self-work. So it could even be the time that you start, because usually it does start at a time where you're going through some kind of battle where you're like, I am not at all prepared to deal with this and stress. Like, I was just used to dealing with stress by internalizing it, and then it manifested itself into pain and really, really bad, not living, like not feeling like you're living. So it does take a lot of work, and this is a good time to really practice that self-care and look at what those options are too, as you are working on your whole self, which is your business and everything else, but it also is internally. I love that.
And I've been looking at our space is the B2B space. So I'm working with cybersecurity and health tech and fintech. And so for some of them, some of this stuff just became that much more relevant. Like, a security company who now has an enterprise that is trying to get out there on remote work from home environments, and they've got highly secured stuff. Like, there's an opportunity for you to create something that nobody else, like, how do you partnership with Zoom? How do you partnership with, fill in the blank, whoever, the company, to create secure environments for an enterprise space? If you're in fintech, now people are going to be buying even more stuff online. There's scammers out there who are trying to say, we could do this or we do that. Like, this is an opportunity. If you're in healthcare, holy cow, like, as if you guys don't have enough on your plate right now. But how do we systematize? How can we move things forward? Right now, some of the decisions that are making, like it or not, our federal government, whatever you want to say, I could care less in the context, because it's not time to point fingers. But what we can say is human beings are trying to do the best thing with the information they have available. And they're trying to work it out however they can. And part of what they're able to accomplish is trying to create vaccinations in like historic speed. Like, that's pretty magical. Like,
Right.
some of the things that are going to come out of this are going to be super powerful. And it is forcing some of the stalwart old ways of business to be transformed.
Yep.
Right. And if you haven't done digital transformation right now, like, hello, wake up. It's just like, a friend of mine, he does stuff for churches. And you know how churches were just dying this last Sunday because they didn't have a digital response? Like,
Yes.
hello, people, it's 2020. Like, why are you not reaching out to your people via some kind of a digital like, there are so many opportunities right here, right now at 3:32 Central Standard Time on whatever day it is. What are we?
24th?
Tuesday, March. Like, we're in the midst of a freaking crazy world. But opportunity arises when you have the eyes to see.
There you go.
So you got to do the work, right? You gotta like rise above the chaos and the noise and the pressure and be able to see objectively, like, put in the work on working on this, and if you need help with that, again, talk to somebody.
There's more resources for that now than ever before. I mean, that's what I've seen in this one, is that, like, the Facebook groups, the LinkedIn, things that are just out there, a tremendous opportunity for it.
Yeah.
Don't go alone.
Here's something too. I just feel like I would be remiss if I didn't say, like, there's two pieces that I see with my clients that are kind of like the common thing. And again, Jessika, this was something that you asked me about before. It was like, the people that I observe that are the high performers, like the people we respect, have two common elements. One is a bias towards action.
Yes.
Right now, you could be feeling fear. You feel paralyzed. You don't feel like you know what to do. Understood. But put that on pause. Step away from that individual and that person and say, who do I need to be in this moment right now? What does my company need me to be? What does my family need me to be? What does my future need me to be? And start setting your intention that I'm going to become that person right here, right now. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. It's not about your goals. It's not about the place where it's like, who do you need to be in order to do the things you want to do? Who must I be? That's number one. Take action to become the person you need to be. What's that?
Oh, I was going to say, that is like, I love that, because I feel like that is the number one key to leadership. I love Seth Godin's quote that he talks about, like, everyone says that they're a leader, but who's following you? And the key to a leader is following, having people that are willing to follow you because you're inspiring them to take action on something. So love that. And by the way, if the people aren't set up for church, the churches aren't set up for digital, just go watch Angus's stuff, because I always feel like I'm at church when I'm listening to him. So you just go there. Sorry.
Nice. Yeah. I try to keep it real, right? And speak truth. And I have a little energy and passion. And here's the second piece. Some of the highest performers that I know, if you look at, some of the people that you really respect, one commonality they have is they never look backwards.
That's right.
They don't have that capacity.
It's the next step, right?
They're always looking at the next step. Always. I don't care if it's Branson. I don't care if it's Tesla dude. I don't care if it, like, fill in the blank, whatever you want. And all the names are escaping me right now. But if you look at the leadership that you admire, they have an inability to look back. And you might be saying, I wisha, I shoulda, I coulda. Like, all of that is disempowering to you right now. And none of it will serve you.
Yes, don't get stuck there.
Right? What must I become right here, right now, and take action?
Yes.
Be that person. That's the stuff that's going to get you moving forward. That's the stuff that's going to get people to follow you. That's the stuff that's going to help you follow yourself. Right? There's a propensity here, or a possibility here, that in your, like, feeling of gripping, and this is something really interesting. We oftentimes will hold on to the things we've always known. And we think like we can't do it any other way. And so if we want to change what we already know, what we often do is we work harder and harder and harder to change this thing. But the thing is never change. So how do you change the thing that won't change and you're still trying to change it? Like, that's ridiculous. So you oftentimes have to let go of something that you already know in order to be able to open your hands so that you can receive something new.
Ooh, yep.
And so right now we are being forced, in many respects, to take on something new.
Yeah, and that's why I think there's been some people that have been more, uncomfortable with that. But this is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
This is then going to make you stronger to know, oh, I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
Hopefully step into that next level of leadership, because now you can tell yourself a new story. I can survive things like this when things get hard. I can come out stronger, better, smarter, and more resilient than I've ever been before. And I love how Jeff said it about what you said. Don't shit all over yourself, just don't. Stop doing that. And such powerful, just everything you shared today, just a wealth of wisdom. And we were thinking about what we wanted to talk about today. And last week we talked about, just things that you can do to kind of prepare, kind of like logistical little steps. But if nothing else we get across for today, it's really the mindset. That's the biggest thing that's really going to make the difference. And as my old coach used to say, the difference that makes all the difference. That really is, I think, is mindset piece of it. So I really hope that everyone takes what's been shared today by the wealth of information that comes from Angus. It's so spot on, and really applies it personally and says, what does this mean, what I can do for myself, for my family, for my business, really taking a look at my personal care, and self-care and the story that I'm telling myself, and really flips this around to be a super positive at the end of the day, because I don't know about, I feel better than I did when I came on, when I first came on the show, and I'm already positive. So I really hope everybody else is feeling uplifted. But Angus, you are amazing. You are always amazing. But if people want to find out more about you and just connect with you now, where's the best place for them to connect with you with?
You can find me on any of the socials. Just come find me on Facebook or Instagram. Facebook's probably the best place. If you want to follow my stuff, my videos, just come and just follow my personal page. You don't even have to go to my work page. Just go to my personal page. And let me leave you with this. I call it the manhood matrix. You can be a woman. I don't have that many letters. Just manhood. I work with men, right? But it starts with this. Think of it like a pyramid, right? And this pyramid is like Maslow's pyramid, right? The bottom of it is the basis, right? So the M for manhood is your mindset. How do I see the world? How do I see myself? Like, what am I putting in? The second one is my attitude. Am I a victim or am I a victor? Am I the one who's implementing myself into the world, or is the world implementing upon me? I make that attitude. Do I come from a place of generosity, or I come from a place of abundance? And then I get to the N, which is my nature. Another word for that is identity. Who do I see myself? Am I what I do, or am I who I am? Who I choose to be is far more powerful than what I choose to do. Who I be creates what I do, but what I do never creates what I be.
Oh,
Next piece of that is humility, when you finally see the world bigger than yourself, where you can show up in a place where you are about those around you and not about yourself. No more narcissism, no more building a kingdom around yourself, but you are coming from a place of servanthood, in which case you will start to observe the world around you, which means you're stepping into self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And in third person, you're almost listening to yourself as words are coming from your mouth, and you are self-editing because you realize it's coming from the wrong places. And you'll even stop yourself and tell the person you're talking to, I'm so sorry. What I just said came from a place of neediness. What I just said came from a place of anger. What I just said. And they're like, what? Where did you come from? You're self-aware. Holy crap. Until which you start to observe where your gifts, your talents, your skills can play in this world. And then finally, you'll dare. You'll dare to do the thing that's in your heart to do. And if you follow this, anytime you see some cracks in your armor, it's one of these components. And if you go down the scale, you realize what you need to rebuild in the foundation to get you back to daring.
That is amazing. And it's all things, like, love what you said, like, who you are is not what you do too, because these are all things people can't take away from you. This is who you are. So no matter what kind of climate is going on, no matter if you lost your job or clients or whatever, bank balance went down or up or whatever it is, this is who you are. Nothing can take that away from you. That's really, really powerful.
I have a graphic. I'll send it to you, and you can give it away. Like, I don't need your email. I don't need anything from you. What's that?
Let's load that graphic in the comments here or something.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments when we get off. Like, it's yours to have. Whoever's listening, like, I want to serve you. I want to prepare you, and I want to propel you. Because for such a time as this, you were born for this day to do what you need to do. And if you are getting caught in all of the emotion, you are missing out at the biggest opportunity of your life. And this thing has never happened before. This is your opportunity to shine. And so I will call you out and call you up. If you are watching this, you were destined to watch this. And these words are just for you.
I got goosebumps now. Oh my God, I love you, Angus. You're one of my favorite humans. You and your whole family, like all of you, are amazing. Oh, so blessed to know you. And thank you so much for taking some time out to be on the show this week. I think it's so powerful and so needed right now. And I really hope everyone got a lot out of this and prints off that armor. I know I am. That's going on my mirror. I'm going to be looking at that every day. But thank you again. I hope everyone connects with you and stays listening to this message and really helps rewrite the story that you're telling yourself. I know it will definitely be something I incorporate as well. So thank you all for joining in with us. Thank you, Mike, as always, for being on, and you, Angus, for taking some time out to spend with us.
What to do with my hands now?
Virtual high five. We owed you a virtual high five. There we go.
Appropriate high fives. So we thank all of you. Wish all of you much love and all good things to come in your way this week and always.
Thank you, Angus.
See you hopefully next week on Magnet Marketers. We'll be back here Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same place you watched us here today. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
That's how you move your hands. Bye.